My sister stole my dress, my prom date, and even my dad's approval, but I didn't cry about it. I didn't beg. I just took back the one thing she wanted most, her spotlight, and I did it with a smile. Stick with me while I share my story, and if it touches you, don't forget to support our channel by hitting that subscribe button, dropping a like, and sharing it with the people you care about. I'm Tessa Bray. I've always been the quiet one, the background girl, the one teachers forgot was in class. And at home, I was just the other daughter. Sienna, my older sister, got all the attention, all the praise. My dad adored her. He treated her like a queen. Me? I was the afterthought. I never really fought it. I kept my head down and focused on what made me happy, designing clothes. I wasn't loud like Sienna. I didn't wear fake smiles or chase after people. I just wanted one night to feel like I mattered. One night that was mine. Promenade I worked for months on a dress. Every thread, every stitch. I poured my heart into it. It was soft blue satin with a low back and hand-sewn silver beads along the waist. It wasn't just a dress. It was my dream. I hung it in my closet the week before prom. So proud I cried. For once, I felt like something was going to go right. But then everything crashed. 3 days before prom, I came home to find the dress gone. I panicked. I searched everywhere. I asked my dad if he'd moved it. He just shrugged and told me to stop being dramatic. Then Sienna walked in wearing my dress. She'd cut it shorter, changed the neckline, and smiled like she'd created it herself. I was speechless. She just said, "Relax, you weren't going to wear it right anyway." That night, Micah texted me. Micah Cole, my date, the guy I actually liked. He cancelled on me with a weak excuse about not feeling well. I didn't even cry. Something in me just shut down. Later, I saw pictures on his sister's story. He was at a movie with Sienna. It was like they ripped my heart out and laughed while doing it. I sat in my room for hours, staring at my sewing machine. My hands shook. My stomach hurt. My dad didn't even ask if I was okay. He said, "You should be happy for your sister. She looks stunning." Something snapped in me. I wasn't going to beg anymore. I wasn't going to fight for crumbs. I was going to take back what was mine and make sure they saw me do it. That night, I started sketching. I didn't know it then, but my comeback had just begun. Growing up, Sienna was always the golden child. She had our dad wrapped around her finger since she was little. She was loud, confident, and always knew what to say to make him smile. I was different. I liked quiet things, drawing, sewing, reading. While Sienna was being praised for her cheer routines and straight teeth, I was in my room, sketching dresses no one ever looked at. Our mom left when I was 8. I don't remember much, just that one day she was crying in the kitchen and the next, she was gone. After that, it was just the 3 of us. But it never really felt like 3. It felt like 2. Sienna and Dad, and then me, watching from the side. Dad never hit me. He never yelled. But sometimes silence can feel worse. When I brought home a perfect design for my art class, he said, "That's nice," and went back to watching TV. When Sienna won runner-up at a local pageant, he threw a party. I stopped trying after a while. It just hurt too much to keep reaching out. Sienna used to tease me. "You look like you live in a thrift store," she'd laugh. I made most of my clothes by hand. It was my way of feeling special, but to her, it was just another reason to mock me. Dad would laugh with her sometime, not in a mean way, just like it was all harmless fun, but it chipped away at me. In our house, Sienna could do no wrong. If she broke something, I got blamed. If I cried, I was being dramatic. If I said I wanted to be a fashion designer, Dad would say, "That's not a real job." So I stopped talking about my dreams. I kept them inside and worked on them in secret. Every time Sienna was praised, I told myself, someday someone will see me too. But deep down, I knew I wasn't just waiting to be seen. I was getting ready to show them. Everything they ignored, everything they laughed at, would one day be the reason they'd look back in regret. I didn't want revenge just to hurt them. I wanted to prove that I was never the doormat. They just never bothered to look down. The week before prom, I was more excited than I'd been in a long time. I had spent 3 months working on my dress, cutting fabric, hand-sewing beads, fixing tiny mistakes until it felt perfect. It wasn't just a dress to me. It was proof that I could turn nothing into something beautiful. It was mine. But then, one morning, it was gone. I checked everywhere. My closet, my drawers, under the bed. I even asked my Aunt Melinda if she had picked it up by mistake. She hadn't. That sinking feeling in my chest grew heavier with each second. And then I heard it. Sienna's voice, giggling on the phone from her room, saying, "It fits like a glove now." No one will believe I made it. But whatever. I froze. I walked down the hall, opened her door without knocking, and there it was, my dress hanging from her closet door. But it had been altered. She had cut the sleeves off, added rhinestones, and shortened it. It wasn't the same anymore. It was like someone had ripped a piece of my heart out and spray painted it with glitter. "What are you doing with my dress?" I asked, voice shaking. Sienna looked me up and down, not even pretending to be sorry. "You weren't really going to pull that off, were you? It looks better on me. Besides, you always wear weird stuff. No one would even notice you in it." I ran to our dad. I expected him to be furious, but all he said was, "It's just a dress, Tessa. Let it go. Let it go." That night, Micah, my date, texted me, "Hey, I think I'm going to go to prom alone." Nothing personal. Nothing personal. I didn't even have to ask. I saw it later that evening on social media. Micah and Sienna posing together in my dress, all smiles. The betrayal hit like a punch to the chest. My sister stole my dress, my date, my moment, and my dad didn't care. I sat on my bed, tears in my eyes, thinking of all the times I'd let things slide. All the times I stayed quiet while Sienna walked all over me, but not this time. That night, something inside me shifted. I wasn't going to beg. I wasn't going to cry anymore. I was done being the quiet, invisible sister. They thought they had taken everything from me, but they hadn't seen what I could do when I finally stopped playing nice. I didn't sleep that night. I kept replaying everything in my head. My stolen dress, Micah's cold text, Sienna's smug smile. But by morning, the tears were gone. In their place was something stronger, determination. I wasn't going to hide at home while Sienna played queen in my creation. Number. If she wanted the spotlight so badly, I'd show her what it looked like when it belonged to someone who earned it. I went straight to my Aunt Melinda's. She was the only person who had ever truly seen me. She took one look at my face and opened her arms. She took everything. I whispered into her shoulder. "Then we'll build something even better," she said softly. For the next 5 days, we worked like crazy, cutting, stitching, layering fabrics. Melinda had shelves of silks and satins, and I poured my heart into every inch of that dress. This time, it wouldn't just be beautiful, it would be unforgettable. While we worked, I also dug for answers. I asked around, piecing together what really happened with Micah. One of his friends let it slip. Sienna had told him I was texting some guy behind his back, that I was using him. Lies. All lies. But I didn't get mad. Not out loud. Let them enjoy their little victory. Let Sienna parade around in a dress she didn't make, and a date she tricked into loving her. I wasn't going to interrupt that. I had something else in mind. The new dress we made wasn't just 10 times better. It was mine in every way. Midnight blue velvet, off-shoulder, a flowing skirt that shimmered like stars. Melinda cried when I put it on. I almost did too. "This is the real you," she said. And for the first time in a long time, I believed her. I didn't want revenge. Not exactly. I just wanted them to see me, really see me. They thought they'd won, but I wasn't done. Not even close. Prom night came faster than I expected. I stood in front of the mirror, heart pounding, staring at my reflection in the dress Aunt Melinda and I had made. Midnight blue, elegant, mine. I barely recognized the girl looking back at me, strong, poised, and for once, proud. I waited until the crowd had settled before I arrived. No rushing, no nervous pacing. I walked into the venue like I belonged there, and for the first time in my life, I felt like I did. As I stepped through the doors, the music didn't stop, but the chatter did. Heads turned. I could feel it. The silence, the whispers, the wide eyes. And then, the gasp. From Sienna. She stood near the dance floor, wrapped in my stolen dress, arm linked with Micah's. But even from across the room, I could see the way her smile faded. Micah's jaw dropped, and he stared like he'd seen a ghost. But I didn't flinch. I didn't look away. I smiled politely and walked past them. The night blurred into lights, laughter and surprise compliments from classmates who had barely noticed me before. "Is that Tessa Bray?" I heard someone whisper. "She looks amazing." I danced. Not to prove anything, but because I wanted to. I let myself laugh, spin, and glow in a way I never had before. I wasn't hiding behind Sienna anymore. I wasn't shrinking to keep the peace. At one point, I caught Sienna watching me from the punch table, her face tight with irritation. Micah stood beside her, distracted, barely responding to her words. She tugged at his arm, but his eyes kept flicking back to me. I didn't say a word to them. I didn't need to. Then, something I never expected happened. They called my name. Tessa Bray, your classmates have voted you this year's prom princess. The room exploded with applause. For me, I stood frozen for a second, overwhelmed. Then I walked to the stage, my heart pounding in my ears. Someone placed a little tiara on my head. Cameras flashed. Cheers filled the room. I saw Sienna in the crowd, eyes wide, lips pressed into a bitter line. That moment wasn't about revenge. It was about reclaiming something I never thought I had, the right to take up space. They took my dress, my date, my peace. But I walked out with my dignity, my dream, and something even better, my spotlight. The morning after prom, I came downstairs still feeling the glow of the night before. I thought maybe things would be quiet, peaceful even. But as soon as I walked into the kitchen, Dad was waiting, arms crossed, jaw tight. "So," he said sharply, "you really had to embarrass your sister like that?" I blinked. "Embarrass her?" She came home in tears. "She said you planned everything to make her look bad. And that ridiculous dress." He paused, shaking his head. "You made a fool of this family." I stood frozen. My heart sank. After everything, he still only saw her. Before I could even reply, Aunt Melinda stepped in from the hallway. She had heard everything. "No, Craig," she said firmly. "You made a fool of Tessa over and over again." He turned, confused. "Excuse me?" "She worked on that original dress for 3 months. Sienna stole it, and you told her it was just a dress. She spent her whole life being pushed aside. You've praised Sienna for every little thing and ignored Tessa's real talent. Enough is enough." Dad went quiet. I stood there, tears welling up in my eyes, but I didn't let them fall. Not yet. "I never wanted to compete with her," I said softly. "I just wanted to be seen. Every time I brought up my designs, you changed the subject. Every time I achieved something, it was never enough. You always made me feel like I had to earn your love, and still failed." His face twitched, like he didn't know how to respond. "I didn't go to prom to hurt anyone," I continued. "I went because I was tired of hiding, tired of feeling invisible in my own home." He looked at me for a long moment, eyes unreadable, but then nothing. No apology, no words, just silence. That silence told me everything I needed to know. I wiped my cheeks and smiled gently at Aunt Melinda. "It's okay," I said. "I don't need him to get it. I finally see myself, and that's enough." And in that moment, I knew. I wasn't living for his approval anymore. I never needed it to shine. It started with whispers in the hallways, just quiet murmurs at first. Nothing serious. But by midweek, everyone at school was talking about it, about her, about the night of prom, about what really happened between me, Micah, and Sienna. Someone must have overheard Sienna bragging to her friends in the bathroom how she got rid of Tessa by telling Micah I had cheated on him, that I had been messaging some guy from art class. She made it sound like a clever little game, like I was just a pawn she had moved off the board. But the thing about secrets, they don't stay buried for long, especially in high school. Micah found out. I don't know who told him first. Maybe it was one of his friends. Maybe he just started piecing things together. But I do know this. He came storming into the cafeteria like he was ready to flip tables. I was sitting with a few classmates when it happened. He marched up to Sienna's table, his voice sharp and loud enough for the whole room to hear. "You lied to me, Sienna. About everything." She blinked, all fake smiles and wide eyes. "What are you talking about? You said Tessa cheated, that she didn't care about me, that she only wanted attention. I believed you, and I dumped her without even asking. Turns out, you were the one playing games." People stopped eating, heads turned. "I can't believe I listened to you," he said. "You took her dress. You lied to your dad. And you used me to hurt your own sister. What kind of person are you?" Sienna's face turned pale, then red. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. Just silence for once. Micah walked away. Everyone else stayed frozen for a beat. Then the whispers came back. But this time, they weren't about me. I watched from across the room, quiet. My heart still ached a little, because Micah had meant something to me. But at the same time, I felt peace. I hadn't exposed Sienna. I hadn't sent screenshots or told stories. The truth had found its own way out, and it burned. Even our dad seemed different that evening. Not softer exactly, but confused. He kept glancing at Sienna during dinner, asking questions, doubting her words for the first time. She noticed too. She sat stiffly, picking at her food. The golden child's glow was starting to crack. And me? I didn't feel like the doormat anymore. I just kept quietly existing, living, creating, letting the world see what Sienna tried so hard to hide. Her lies destroyed themselves. I didn't even have to raise my voice. The week after prom, something changed in me. It wasn't just about Sienna anymore. It wasn't even about Micah. For the first time in a long time, I started thinking about me, about what I wanted, and I wanted out of this house, out of this life where I was always in someone else's shadow. Aunt Melinda saw it before I even said a word. One morning, she walked into my room holding a brochure. It was for the New York Institute of Fashion Design, the same program I'd once begged my dad to let me apply to. He had shut it down immediately back then, said it was a waste of time and not a real career. But Melinda looked me dead in the eye and said, "You're ready now." I opened the brochure with trembling hands. The photos made my heart race. Students working in bright studios, sewing, sketching, creating. It looked like magic. And suddenly, I knew this was where I belonged. Not hiding behind closed doors. Not letting someone else decide who I got to be. We worked in her art studio late into the nights. She helped me gather every sketch I'd ever saved. Some were crumpled, some stained with coffee or tears. But they were mine. Then she helped me pick the best photos from prom night, the ones where I was glowing in the gown I made with my own hands. I looked like a designer, like an artist. We sent the application without telling my dad. My hands shook when I hit submit, but it felt like releasing a bird into the sky. No more cages, no more waiting for someone to believe in me. And that little studio became my sanctuary. I'd go there after school, working on new designs, humming to myself while the sewing machine whirred. It was quiet, peaceful, no yelling, no competition, just me, doing what I loved. For once, I didn't feel like I needed revenge. I didn't need Sienna to apologize. I didn't need my dad to be proud. If I got in, great. If not, I'd try again. But this time, I was walking my own path. Not for anyone else, just for me. The auditorium buzzed with energy. Rows of chairs filled with strangers, judges, and fellow designers. I stood backstage, clutching the hem of my gown. My latest creation, a mix of silk, tulle, and raw defiance stitched into every seam. It was my heart on fabric. The announcer called my name, Tessa Bray. My heels clicked softly as I walked the runway, not with nerves, but with quiet pride. The lights hit me, the music played, and my model walked out in the gown I made from nothing but a vision and a stubborn refusal to be overlooked. And then I saw them, front row. My dad, Sienna, even Micah. I didn't invite them. I hadn't spoken to any of them in weeks. But there they were, watching with blank expressions. I couldn't tell if they were proud, confused, or just curious. Sienna smiled at me, that sweet, fake smile she wore like perfume. She leaned over to whisper something to Dad. He nodded, eyes fixed on the runway, his jaw clenched like he was trying to swallow something sharp. When the model turned at the end, the lights caught the beadwork just right. Gasps followed. Applause broke out. I heard my name again, but this time it wasn't quiet. It echoed. Tessa Bray. Backstage, I barely had time to breathe when my dad approached. He looked around first, like checking to make sure no one was watching too closely. Then he said, "I didn't know you had this in you." I looked at him, really looked, and smiled, not out of joy, but peace. "You never looked," I said softly. He blinked, like the words slapped him. Sienna was behind him, arms crossed. "I'm proud of you," she said, her voice high and rehearsed, but her eyes betrayed her. They burned. I didn't respond. I didn't need to, because in that moment, I didn't care who was proud or jealous or sorry. I had created something beautiful, and people saw it. I saw it. I stepped away from them, toward my fellow designers who clapped me on the back, grinned, and celebrated my win. Let them watch. Let them sit in silence while I rose. Let them whisper, wonder, regret. I didn't need their applause. I had my own. People used to say Sienna was the star, and I was the quiet one, the shadow, the afterthought. But stars burn out, shadows shift, and quiet doesn't mean weak. Now when I look back, I don't feel anger anymore. Not toward Sienna, not even toward my dad. Just clarity. I didn't ruin her life. I didn't spread rumors or scream at anyone. I didn't tear her down. I just stepped away. And without me there to prop her up, the lies she built her world on started to fall. She lost Micah because of her own deception. She lost her place at school because people finally saw through the performance. And as for Dad, well, he doesn't speak much these days, not in the way that matters. He's polite, even asks how I'm doing sometimes, but the bond we never had isn't magically there now, and that's okay. I've stopped expecting love from places that never gave it freely. What I have now is something stronger than attention. It's freedom. Freedom to design, to dream, to take up space without asking permission. When I step into my studio each morning, sunlight floods the room, catching on the sketches pinned to my wall, the fabric samples, the beading, the soft hum of my machine. It's my world, built stitch by stitch. No one handed me this. I didn't steal the spotlight. That was never my goal. I just stopped standing in someone else's. Sienna always thought being seen meant being admired, that being loud meant being loved. But I learned something better. Being real is what lasts. And when you build your own light, no one can switch it off. So now, I walk into rooms without shrinking. I wear what I love. I speak when I want. And sometimes I catch whispers, people comparing me to the girl they used to overlook. But I don't flinch, because the truth is simple. Her spotlight was never hers. Mine. I made it myself. Do you think Tessa was right to let Sienna fall on her own? Or should she have confronted her sister and fought back louder? I'd love to hear what you think in the comments. And if stories like this speak to you, don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a moment.